Hi guys, I'm back again with some more stories for you today. Let's go to the first one, about OP's spoiled and entitled stepdaughter, who demands OP pays for her wedding venue, despite she canceled the one OP already paid for. Listen to the story to find out all the details, and of course to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My husband and I are in our 30s. We've been married for 10 years and have twin sons together. My husband also has a daughter, 20. He doesn't speak to his daughter's mother anymore, and she hasn't been in either of their lives for a very long time. I helped raise my stepdaughter, and I love her, but she was an only child for a very long time, and my husband gave her the princess treatment. She had a tendency to act very spoiled when she was younger, but mostly grew out of that after moving out at 18. My husband and I both have well-paying full-time jobs, but I've been the primary breadwinner for the majority of our relationship. I also have a sizable inheritance from my grandfather, which we used to buy our home, pay for our son's daycare, etc. Last April, my stepdaughter got engaged. My husband and I were both very happy for them, and for our wedding gift, we offered to help finance her wedding plans. They were supposed to get married this August, but the chosen wedding venue told us they'd either have to reschedule to next year or change their guest list to less than 50, and that everyone would have to wear masks. The original wedding was 200 guests. Stepdaughter asked us if my husband and I could pay for a different venue she found that would be available in October. I already paid a very large, non-refundable deposit for the original venue, plus extra for open bar services that would be provided. We told her no. She'd have to wait like the other brides who had to postpone for virus, and waiting another year won't be so terrible. Stepdaughter was furious, and apparently very impatient to get married. Without consulting me or my husband first, she canceled the venue, caterer, florist, and photographer, all of which my husband and I paid the deposits on. I was sick of her little tantrum and told her she'd need to find someone else to pay for what she wanted, because she wasn't going to get a penny from me unless it was for cab fare to the courthouse to elope, because that's the wedding she deserved for being ungrateful. She's since called her dad sobbing multiple times and apologizing and begging for a second chance. I called all the people she canceled, and they were mostly understanding, and a few offered to renew the contract stepdaughter terminated. I said no, and have cut my losses on this issue, which my husband disagrees with and says I'm being too harsh. I told him I would no longer enable stepdaughter's bratty behavior, and if he wanted to pay, he could use his own income. Mine paid for over 60% of the wedding costs. Husband thinks I'm being just as hard-headed and unreasonable as stepdaughter. Am I the a-hole? Well, in my opinion, she should have been grateful OP was willing to pay anything at all. A lot of weddings now are paid for by the couple. OP paid a lot already, and for her to just expect for OP to pay all that again, possibly more than before, is ridiculous. She made a choice, and she needs to deal with the consequences. Sadly, OP and her husband aren't on the same page. Spoiling her like that isn't doing her any favors. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Grim Dreg says, not the a-hole. If she took it upon herself to cancel everything you paid deposits on because she was impatient, she can figure it out herself. You were more than generous here, and it's probably time she learned that her actions have consequences. Teresa JS says, not the a-hole. You paid for her wedding once. You shouldn't have to pay for it a second time. If she's old enough to get married, she's old enough to pay for her own wedding. A Tad Anxious says, not the a-hole. It's your money. You paid for what you agreed for. She can't just change her mind now unless you agreed, and you didn't. It was nice of you to help her out in the first place. She sounds a bit entitled. Also, I'd be concerned what giving in would mean here. Wouldn't she learn if she throws enough of a tantrum she gets her own way? It's awful, but don't go turning into your dad either. A few years ago, my 20 male parents, 54 male and 52 female, divorced after it was discovered that my dad was having an affair. The thing is, I've always hated my mom. She is very snappy and argumentative, always throws a fit when she doesn't get her way, and has never really shown any respect towards my interests. I feel like she will only approve of me if I'm basically a carbon copy of her. She has always clearly favored my sister, 19 female, over me, as she is more like her in several ways, has interests she approves of, has the same worldviews, and always does what she says. My dad, on the other hand, has always been the better parent. He's always tried to hear me out whenever my mom and I argue, has never disrespected me or made fun of my interests, and actually makes an effort to understand them, and is overall more fun and pleasant to be around. He used to get along with my sister as well. I used to argue with my dad a lot during puberty, as I imagine most people do, but that stopped. The arguments with my mom, however, continued, because whilst my dad actually tried to parent, my mom just wanted to control me. A few years ago, it was discovered that my dad was having an affair. I already knew the woman, 51 female, as she is my best friend's mom, and I knew that she was friends with my dad, but I never knew that they were having an affair. Her husband died several years ago, so she wasn't having an affair. My sister obviously chose my mom and chewed out my dad for having an affair. They were clearly expecting me to choose mom as well, and were shocked when I chose my dad. The reason I chose him is because I can't stand to be around my mom, and to be honest, I believe that her toxic behavior is what drove my dad to cheat in the first place. Her previous husband also cheated on her, and the common denominator is her, so it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to say that the problem is her. Needless to say, my mom and sister completely cut me off after the divorce. A few years later, my dad married my now stepmother. She is the mother that I wish I had growing up. She did a fantastic job raising my now stepbrother on her own for several years. He is also the best stepbrother I ever could have asked for. However, to this day, a lot of people still give me crap whenever they find out that my dad cheated on my mom, and I chose him over my mom. They say I'm just as terrible of a person as my dad for siding with an unfaithful husband. The thing is, though, I know for a fact that I would have been miserable living with my mom. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for choosing my dad? I don't think OP is in the wrong for choosing the parent who has always been a better parent to OP. That's pretty reasonable. However, blaming the person who got cheated on is not right in my opinion. So maybe that's the real reason why people give a hard time to OP. OP is blaming the victim in one area because she sucks in other ways. That's like thinking someone deserved to be mugged because they've always been arrogant. Cheating is always the fault of the cheater in the third person. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Liana KelTiger88 says, "Not the a-hole. You never should have been made to choose. Your parents are the a-holes here. Your dad shouldn't have had an affair. If he didn't want to be with your mom, he should have manned up and told her before bedding the neighbor. Your mom sounds like a tool, and I'm sorry you had such a hard time when you were young." Should be studying by says, "Not the a-hole. But I want to say, you can't blame the affair on your mom because she was a bad wife. He could have divorced her before having the affair. No one deserves to be cheated on, regardless of their reasons. Plus, you're 20. You really don't know what their relationship was like. Also, why are children always forced to pick a side? That still baffles me. It's extremely toxic. They both are the parents, and it should be their responsibility to make sure kids aren't in the middle of a divorce." ZukoLover96 says, "Please be careful in saying your mom is the common denominator in those affairs. You cannot think it is okay to cheat on your future partner if the relationship goes bad. Breaking up is always an option, and your dad didn't do that and instead disrespected the whole relationship by cheating. You can hate your mom all you want. She sounds awful, but don't go turning into your dad either." My, 23 female, husband Matt, 25 male, married young to Sophia. They are both recovering addicts, but my husband decided that apart from becoming clean, he was also going to divorce her 4 years ago, since at that time she didn't want to stop and he just couldn't do it anymore. He left her, and she never took this well, but it helped as a push, and she decided to get clean too after the divorce. We met a year after that. We dated for 2, and then got married last year. She is a part of his life, and I'm okay with that. They got in contact again in 2018 when she tried to get back to him, but he told her that he was already dating me. She then tried to be his friend and asked me if I was okay with this, since she is his ex-wife, and I said that I was no one to control his relationship. But she made it very clear that she hated me, and that for her, I was this little princess whose daddy handed her everything and had the perfect life, which I'm not. So my husband limited the contact with her. She told him that she was pregnant a few months ago. We congratulated her and were truly happy with her. But she had a miscarriage 2 weeks after that and was so devastated. I offered her my support since I had one in October of last year while my husband and I were trying for a baby. I know how bad it is, and I didn't want her to feel alone since the father wasn't in the picture. We kept talking, and we improved our relationship. I won't say that we became the best of friends, but you could tell that there was an intimacy between us. She's trying for a baby, but apparently her boyfriend has low sperm count, and it's a little hard. She is so upset because they don't have the money for treatment or IVF, and it's always talking about how she can't wait to be a mother again. Well, my husband and I found out in May that we were pregnant. Since we had to be in the house, we took advantage of the circumstances to keep it a secret, until it was something more certain, as we already lost the baby. 2 weeks ago, we found out that they were twins, and we started to tell people around us that we were going to be parents. Everyone was so happy, and Sophia started to say all the things she was going to do when they arrived. Change their diapers, putting them to sleep, teaching them how to walk, and about possible names, things that, parents do. I told her that I appreciate the love she already has for them, but that they were our babies, and those things corresponded to us, not to her. She looked at me bluntly, and then she started to cry and called me an a-hole for saying that. That she knew they were our babies, but that my husband was already her ex-husband, and that she could help and even be added to the family as a second mommy. That there were two for something, and one could be hers. I got pretty mad. I said, "What about your boyfriend?" She said that he doesn't matter now. I just asked her to leave, and now she and my husband's mom are saying that I'm a B. OP needs to sit down with her husband and discuss this with him. She is delusional, thinking she'll get to be second mommy to OP's kids. He needs to place boundaries and limit contact with her. She should not come near OP's children. Next thing OP knows, she'll be trying to breastfeed them and be mommy number one. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Stella Wildheart says, "Not the a-hole. That's weird. Also, the fact that your husband's mom is siding with her is a tad concerning." OP says, "She always liked her more. She thought her son was more happy and more smiley and laughed more with her. And now he is more quiet and serious. But that's just who he is. He said he laughed a lot more cause he used to be high all the time." Zestful Stingray says, "Not the a-hole. Those are some major red flags. To say one of the babies could be hers is actually a real frightening statement. There's a fine line between being enthusiastic and wanting to help and wanting to be a second mommy. A miscarriage is traumatic, and it can leave you with some pretty intense feelings. I've suffered 6 myself. So maybe she needs to see a counselor or a therapist to help her deal with whatever's going on. Either way, for now, it might be worth putting a bit of space between yourselves. He's her ex for a reason. She has no right to try to be a part of your family unit." Coral says, "Not the a-hole. I don't understand why you have tolerated this woman as a third wheel in your marriage. Why is your husband's mother even involved in this or any other issue you have with Sophia? You really need to get this cleaned up for good before you deliver. As things stand, I think you're on your way to being a single mother of twins, with your Sophia seeing your children on your husband's vacation days." Originally, I was going to help my son and his girlfriend Sammy, 19, for their wedding, giving them money, because both work at a restaurant for minimum wage. So far, my relationship with Sammy was okay, but I noticed she has a habit of buying clothes outside of her means. I see her with those YSL bags, and she wears Golden Goose sneakers. Wedding dress shopping became a nightmare when she insists on a $10K dress while I went with her mother and the bridesmaids. I asked her, "Doesn't that seem excessive for the small wedding you're having?" And she said since I'm paying for the wedding, I can afford the dress I want. Her getting a $10K dress defeats my whole purpose of paying for the wedding, because I didn't want my son to be in a boatload of debt. It started out as an argument with her mother about how her daughter is a princess. And I said no, her daughter works at Chili's and doesn't even have a high school education, while my son has been taking classes at community college, so he doesn't take out a dreaded student loan. I also pay for that. Everyone was extremely angry with me after that, and I told my son I no longer support this marriage, and I will take the wedding funds for his education, but please don't marry Sammy. He hasn't been talking to me, saying he loves her, and it was really awful of me to withdraw money from the wedding because Sammy and her mom put the down payment of the dress on Sammy's mom's credit card. As of right now, if I don't help with the wedding, I'm not invited if I do not help with paying it. My son is acting stupid about the whole thing, and I don't know how to talk some sense into him without being an even bigger a-hole. Deli LaBelle says, "Not the a-hole. Don't give them a cent. Why would you do anything to encourage or make getting married easier for a couple of teenagers? The odds of it ending well are not high. I have an 18-and-a-half-year-old. It's way too young." Call All says, "Not the a-hole. You've worked hard to teach your son to be financially responsible, and he's marrying a child who has zero intention of living within her means. She's been enabled by her mother to believe that someone else is responsible for providing everything she wants. Unfortunately, your son is young and blinded by love. The only thing you can do is continue to invest in him and his education. Talk to him about their short and immediate plans. How do they plan on supporting themselves? Is he planning to move into her mom's house while he finishes school? Or will he be dropping out of college to earn enough money to feed them? You might consider giving him or them a financial planning course and a round of parental counseling. Money is the second most commonly cited reason for divorce. The first is infidelity, and your future daughter-in-law sounds ripe for cheating with someone who is better off than your son. New friend says, not the a-hole. It sounds like Sammy is going to lead your son into financial ruin. You can try to educate him now, but I agree with you. It would be dumb to give them money for this wedding. Save it for when they need more important things. I, 30 male, have an older sister, 35 female, and my younger brother, 27 male. My brother recently got married with his now wife, and to get straight to the point, no one in the family likes her. She's your average sister-in-law that people on the subreddit complain about having. Disrespectful and attention-seeking. There's a lot of drama surrounding her, and so my brother wasn't allowed to come to family events if sister-in-law would be there. We also would only celebrate his birthday if she would not be there. He complained, of course, saying how we were making sister-in-law feel unwanted and such, but she does that in our own homes. We went low contact with my brother, but my parents allowed him back for holidays after sister-in-law gave birth to twins, and my mother wanted to be in their lives. Not that it mattered, because sister-in-law won't allow the twins near anyone. I genuinely don't like what my brother sees in her. Her personality would be one he hates, but since he's with her, it's okay. My brother had his wedding in early September, and it was a destination wedding and child-free. None of us could even make it if we wanted to. We wouldn't be able to find babysitters and easily go up to where their wedding was. My brother wasn't happy, and since then, he's been complaining about it, saying how he attended ours, and that it wasn't fair that the family could enjoy our day, but not his. He also said we were selfish for not putting our differences with sister-in-law aside. It's been going on for a while, and I told him I don't care if his wedding didn't go the way he wanted because it wasn't feasible for us, and also because of how his wife acts. Since then, I hadn't heard from him, but then I found out from my mother that he ranted to her about how he and his family were being treated horribly by us, and that he was crying. Both my parents think I should apologize. I do love my brother, but I hate his wife. So am I the a-hole? Where did my glasses go, says. You're the a-hole. I feel like a lot is glazed over. What did your sister-in-law do to you specifically to make you all not like her? Not just, oh, she's an attention seeker. Plus, your brother has started a family with his wife. You have now become extended family. With the twins, some parents make the call either no mom, no kids, or partner takes the kids to visit, but with firm boundaries. This is based off of their experience with in-laws and a conversation between the parents. OP, you only have your feelings, no clear evidence of what your sister-in-law did. I understand not being able to make a destination wedding is not feasible for a lot of people right now. Not only the money piece, but no kids is hard to coordinate. Could there have been a celebration when they returned? Sounds like nothing changed on the treatment of your sister-in-law after she had the twins. Sounds like the only reason you all tolerate your sister-in-law is for access to the twins. What a crappy way to feel about yourself. I'm only tolerated because I popped out some kids. You will not have a relationship with your brother or his family by your choices. You're in the find out zone now. Jasper Jamboree says, I'm going to have to say everyone sucks here because we're missing so much information about the sister-in-law. You say she's your average sister-in-law that people on the subreddit complain about having, but without going into detail as to what kind of behavior she actually has. You say that she's disrespectful and attention-seeking, but wouldn't you say that your family is also providing the same disrespectful treatment towards her by constantly excluding her? I can understand if you decline a child-free destination wedding. You're not going to leave your kids at home while you travel, and if you were to take them with you, it's difficult to choose who has to be the babysitter at the hotel when everybody else gets to party. However, something tells me that even if the wedding was held nearby your family, you probably would have declined going anyways.